Cash Money, and Puffy, and Damon Dash, and Irv Guy. These guys are my new mentors and inspiration.
And every day I wake up, I be like, damn, we really done pulled it off, you know what I'm saying?
A star is when their feet don't touch the ground, when my mother could sign them.
Jay gave me 7 albums in 7 years. He kept us breathing. And the least I could do is create other opportunities for us to make money. But I make more money with Rockaway than Rockefeller, like that.
Big Pun died. Now where is Terror Squad? You know what I'm saying? So I had no choice but to step up.
Welcome to Inside Hip Hop. I'm your host, Fatman Scoop. I've served in the music industry for over 13 years as an artist, as a record executive, and a radio personality. I sat down with the movers, shakers, and check writers in the hip-hop industry and asked them a series of questions to help you understand what made them successful in the music business. As you'll soon see, hard work, dedication, and finding the right artist are the keys to winning in the hip-hop game. I sat down with Lyor Cohen, President, CEO, and Chairman of Island Def Jam Music Group, and spoke to him at length about the music industry from the beginning to where it is today. Here's what he had to say. How did you wind up meeting Russell Simmons?
It's a long story. You have to really know about a gentleman named Roger Clayton. Mm-hmm. Roger Clayton actually threw the biggest hip-hop events at the time. Mm-hmm. This was, 80, 81.
Where was it? On the
Los
East Coast?
Angeles.
Okay, Los Angeles.
A lot of people don't understand that the first all-rap station was in Los Angeles.
KDAY.
KDAY 1580. Mm-hmm. And Roger Clayton was called Uncle Jam's Army. Mm-hmm. And he used to put 20,000 kids in the sports arena in Los Angeles. Mm-hmm. And from all over South LA, Compton, Crenshaw, Inglewood, Watts, the whole Long Beach, everything. They used to all come to his events, and he never really had any talent there. He just had DJs. And the groups starting to happen, Egyptian Lover, The Wrecking Crew.
Mm-hmm, which is Dr. Dre.
Which is Dr. Dre.
Did you know Dr. Dre back then?
Oh yeah.
What was your first impression of him?
Listen, it was all love back then. Mm-hmm. It was all us with our little secret, with plans of just keeping the party alive. There was no strategy, thoughtfulness, taking over the world. It was the here and now, having the best maximum fun.
I want to talk about your early days at Def Jam. How did you get involved with Def Jam?
You have to understand, Def Jam, it was a blurry thing called rush management. Mm-hmm. It was like, 1 second we're management, the next second we were the record company. Mm-hmm. Understand, we had no predecessors, no people to guide us through this experience.
Mm-hmm. It was just kind of like you were winging it?
Winging it is an understatement.
Mm-hmm.
Okay. We were, ignorance is bliss. We were winging it. We were high. We were happy. We had great conviction. Mm-hmm. We were determined. We were hardworking. We were united. United not just on our own camp, but united with hip hop. Period. Mm-hmm. All the record labels back then. There was a unitedness. Mm-hmm. We used to party together, have fun together, stay out late together. Maybe it's, ridiculous for me to think that back then when it was $100 business, and now it's $1 billion business, that it could maintain some of the same integrity and some of the closeness that era provided. Can you imagine if we were united, the clout that we would have out here?
Politically, economically, it would be ridiculous.
Ridiculous.
What were some of the trials and tribulations you guys went through building that label to what it is today?
We were, moguls, sharing bunk beds. You know what I'm
Wow.
saying? You know, we were flat broke trying to make payroll, trying to keep it afloat. You know, we were struggling with the lack of knowledge. The Def Jam's original deal was 16 points. That included the artist too. Now an artist won't sign unless it's, you know, more than 16 points or something stupid like that.
Right.
You know what I'm saying? Def Jam's entire deal was 16 points. And that included the artists, producers, the whole shit.
I think Def Jam has one of the most incredible staffs in the world. And
Say that one more time.
It's a fact. Def Jam has one of the most incredible staffs in the world.
Yeah, I know. I didn't hear you. I didn't hear you.
Come on, you know Def Jam has one of the most incredible staffs in the world. Now, come on, cut it out.
All right.
These guys,
you heard
these people,
that, right?
These people are focused. These are people who come in early and leave late, and you need that, you know. And that's one of the most important things.
By the way, this ain't a hobby for us.
This is it.
This is people's lives depend on what we do every single day, and we treat that with the utmost responsibility. You're not going to catch a Def Jam employee or Kevin Liles at the bar holding a neck of champagne, X'd out.
Right.
That's not happening. You understand what I'm saying?
Maybe for the artists, but not for the people behind the scenes.
You're not going to catch that.
Right.
Because, you know, humility is also part of strength. People don't have to talk about you. You don't have to act a fool to
get
be
it
noticed.
done. Right. Now, you're a manager of a lot of different people. In your opinion, what does it take to be a good manager?
Respect, support risk-taking, allow your people to make mistakes, and like how I sign artists. Sign stars, don't try to dust bums off.
Right, right.
Okay?
How do you know a star?
A star is when their feet don't touch the ground, when my mother could sign them. Unfortunately, our industry isn't as patient as it needs to be. Because if stars were fully abundant, then we would all be out of business.
Right.
Then we wouldn't be doing this magic business. We're in the magic business. And it's to find a star is like a needle in a haystack.
It is. It's tough.
It's the same thing with employees. Kevin Liles, you know, he does 40 points a day. You know, his whole season is triple doubles. You know.
How do you know when you have a good employee?
When they take risks, when they work hard, when they're thoughtful, they're engaging, and they, you know, add value. You see, the way I look at it is, if I pay you $1 million and you bring home 10.
Then you're bringing it to the table, right? But if I'm paying you $1 million and you're bringing home $1 million and you're really breaking even, you're not doing anything. It's time to go.
Yeah, but most of the people bring home like cents. And you know what we do with them?
They have to go.
Right.
And you know something? That's something. And you know something. That's
And you know
something
where
I
they
want to
go?
bring up.
You know where they go?
Where do they go?
They go to all the other companies because they say, "Hey, yo, we worked at Def Jam
and we didn't make it." now, a lot of people know you as somebody who does not play. People have coined your style as fierce, hardball, cutthroat, like a really, really tough as nails businessman. What do you feel about that?
You know, what can I say about this? I don't think I'm cutthroat, but you know, when you were learning how to play basketball, you didn't go to basketball, did you? Okay.
You better look. I played basketball.
Okay. But you know when the coach said, "Yo, work to box out that guy."
You got to get down there and handle your business.
Right. Let me put it to you this way: I box people out. Now, is that cutthroat, or were they lazy while I was doing my job? Okay? I'm running up and down the court. There's no sandbagging. I never, ever feel defeated until the buzzer buzzes. You will never see me sleeping. Never intoxicated with success. People call it cutthroat. I call it thorough.
we will end it on that note. Lyor, thank you for coming through. It's been a pleasure. Lyor Cohen, who dropped a lot of science today, was with us. Inside Hip Hop, Fatman Scoop, and I'll cut the big Colorado for right now.
Okay, all right, thank you.
I recently sat down with Damon Dash, CEO of Rockefeller and Rockaware, and we talked about the importance of expanding into other businesses besides music. Here's what he had to say. Who came up with the idea of starting the Rock?
It was like an incremental process, I have to say. When Jay and I were first looking for record deals and no one was giving us any kind of positive feedback, you know, we decided to like make some vinyl, you know what I'm saying, on a small level. And then when things were kicking off, and you know, what had really happened was my crew, the Best Out, I came to them like, yo, we need to start a record company in the clothing, because we were throwing parties and everybody would come to them.
And you were talking about clothing companies back then?
Yeah.
Because that was like 95,
we was making T-shirts. We were marketing, actually. We were like the first crew to make T-shirts. We had the Best Out T-shirts with our names on it, all that. And people responded to us. So I came uptown and I pitched, we need to do this, that, and the third. Best Out Records, Best Out Clothing. And, you know, it seemed like a dream that was not attainable, you know what I'm saying? So not everybody was down. But my man Biggs was like the only dude that called me the next day and was like, yo, that would be hot. So he always kind of had interest in being down with it, and you know, he gave support in any kind of way that we needed, you know what I'm saying? So when we first started doing the vinyl, you know, like I said, certain doors opened and we capitalized. So incrementally it just built up. And then like finally we was like, yo, and I think it might have been Biggs that was like, let's just go all out. Actually, I remember on the phone, like, we just go for the whole thing. So we just said, let's just do it, man. You know, forget all this getting a deal and this, that, and the third. Let's just do it.
Do you think that going the independent route made you a better businessman and a better executive?
Yeah. Anything but the independent route is the Herb route. You know what I'm saying? Like, as a businessman, you know what I'm saying? Like, you know, the artists get, if starting out, get 10 or 15 points. It's 100 points being generated. Just because, you know, people are putting up the dough, you shouldn't be able to benefit. Anything more than 15 points, and then you have all these recoupable costs, you don't make no money. You know what I'm saying? So yeah, me being a businessman and not an artist, you know, of course I couldn't get 20% of Jay's 10 points. You know what I'm saying? What would I have?
Nothing.
Nothing. And you know, the thing about being independent is yours. You build equity in it. It's yours to buy. It's yours to sell. I could sell Rockefeller whenever we feel. We've already sold half of it and we've caked off. We've made money, and we're very young, and if I feel like it, I can start something brand new and build equity in that with a good formula and sell that as well. You know what I'm saying? But, you know, you have to know how to make the money. It's one thing looking good and being hot, but at the end of the day, you know, unless you got some money sitting and you're able to spend, like I like to spend money, I like to be flossy, I like to talk shit, I like to provide for my friends, my family, and give them opportunity to provide for themselves. And, you know, the only way to do that is to really make money. You got to make money, and this money is short. The music business isn't what people think. It's really not that much cake in it, unless you get a Jay-Z, or you run into someone, or Eminem, or Nelly. That shit doesn't happen too often. Jay gave me 7 albums in 7 years. He kept us breathing, and the least I could do is create other opportunities for us to make money. But I make more money with Rockaware than Rockefeller, like that.
Can you explain the responsibilities and duties of a CEO?
There's so many. I mean, one is you have to definitely make sure that everything is facilitated. You want things done and make sure that it gets done. But then when you're, you know, at the head of when your position is to be at the head of a lot of different personalities, there's a lot of therapy involved as well, because everyone has to work together.
Right.
You know what I'm saying? And then there's also a lot of learning how to control your emotions, because you have to react in what's not better for you, but what's better for your team.
What are the things that, because everybody thinks, you know, when they think of CEO, they think of money and you know, extravagant lifestyle. What are the things that they don't see on a day-to-day basis that a CEO does?
The closed-door meetings, definitely the therapy, the feeling and the emotion of lack of being around your family, knowing that they need you more than anything, because inevitably that's really more important than anything. So it's kind of like you have to weigh, if I can provide for my kid, maybe he can't see me today, but it's going to make it to where his life is better. But you want to be there for your kids, you know, those kind of emotions. But the lifestyle is also, the goods definitely outweigh the bads. You know what I'm saying? You know, I love the fact that I can do what I want, when I want, the way I want.
In your opinion, what's the biggest challenge facing today's young black executives, being one?
In what business?
In the business you're in.
I'm in a lot of business.
Music business.
In the music business, I think it's the misconception that if you get a deal and someone goes platinum, that you're going to be rich. It's a very rude awakening. That's right, it really, and it's so hard today, man, in the music business because you got the bootlegging and the computers. It's just not sweet like it used to be. It just isn't sweet. And I'm pissed because right now it should be sweet for us. And I'm still hustling. You know what I'm saying? I'm still in the grind. I still got to get up at 6 in the morning and do interviews and shit like that. You got to do it. But you know, I remember when I was younger, I was like watching people just put records out and they just blow. Not us, man. I still got to fight for every artist.
What do you want Damon Dash to be remembered for?
Being honest and fair and standing up for his culture. Because trust me, in the movie business, I'm going through it. In the clothing business, I'm going through it. In the music business, I've gone through it. I will not let anybody try to play me. And anyone that could ever have the gall to try to play me, knowing that I will try to make you suffer, knowing that I think I'm smart. Nevertheless, you know, I think I got it all together. Someone that would try to play me is definitely playing everybody in my culture, or try to. So I'm gonna make that nigga suffer for trying to exploit anyone else behind me that just doesn't have the strength and the courage to fight for it. It's not just for me, it's for everybody.
We're going to end it right there on that note right there. Fatman Scoop, Damon Dash, thank you for coming through. Would you please throw up the Dynasty sign?
With pride.
There it is, inside hip-hop, Fatman Scoop, Damon Dash. It's a rap. Holla. When Baby, co-CEO of Cash Money Records, came to town on a recent tour, I had the opportunity to sit down and talk to him. And we talked about how he was able to obtain one of the most lucrative deals in hip-hop history and what it took to get him there. Check it out. How did you get involved in the record business?
I had a little friend, rest in peace, his name was Terrence, and I got hooked up with Manny. You know, Manny was from downtown, I'm from uptown, and when we collided, we just got with the gang.
Did anybody help you along the way? Did you have somebody who was like kind of in the record industry that helped you along, or did you learn everything on your own?
I mean, we was 7 years independent before we got a deal, so I kind of studied the game. I watched Russell Simmons a lot. I watched Puff. I watched Suge. I watched P. I watched James Smith. I like Swab House. Everybody who was doing what I wanted to do. So I watched the moves that they made. I read on them. Stayed on point because I knew if I ever got my shot, I was going to be faced the same obstacles and I was going to walk the same path, and I just was going to try to make different decisions, you know what I'm saying, when my turn came. So them was my models of the game.
How did Cash Money Records start?
I mean, we've been doing this since my first record. I got my federal tax ID number in '89. You know what I'm saying? So my first release was like '91. You know what I'm saying? So we were just shuffling, you know what I'm saying? My first release, I lost. You know, my first year or two, I lost, but I lost to learn, you know. I ain't have no teacher, so me and my brother had to get it how we get it. We learned from experience. We learned from losses. So once we got on to it and knew what it takes, how to you know,
do it right.
Right, to take the pain, take the sweet, you know what I'm saying? So it wasn't nothing once I learned to hustle.
Now, tell us about that time, like the time when you were losing. What was happening? You couldn't get a record played? Like, what was it?
I mean, I was coming out the streets, so it was like, you know, it was hard. You know, I was probably one of the first ones to start doing, probably the first or the second from New Orleans that really come with a label, you know. Then at that time, you over pressing, we independent, doing too much, you know what I'm saying?
Not knowing.
It come down to not knowing, but I learned from not knowing, you know, my teacher was my experience, and that's your best teacher, your experience.
How was it selling records out the trunk?
I mean, we was hand to hand, a lot of, like, where we from, you know, if you got a hot song and be in a club, you know, let them be known we're on the avenue. We got them then right around the corner. So then we learned how to go put them on consignment with stores, and then we got too big for that. Then we got to a distributor that only covered the New Orleans area. Then we got too big for that. Then it was the Southwest, and then at that point, it was no more for us because nobody really afford to do what we was doing because we was shipping like 150 for independent. That's damn near $400,000 or $500,000, and I was dropping an album every 2-3 weeks. So we were just hustling. We had distributors bagged up on us like $2-3 million, so we just had to wait and just get our money. Then it had got too big, so we had to make a move.
What was the hardest thing about starting that label up from the ground? What was the absolute hardest thing about it?
I didn't know it took so much. This really is this ain't a 9 to 5, it's a 9 to 12. You know what I'm saying? You gonna grind, you got to work, and at home it's different. We used to have to I used to be out there myself putting up posters, pacing up, you know, people's doors and, you know, just trying to make this work for me. But I just looked at it like every day that I work hard for it, I'm getting closer to my goals and what I'm trying to really accomplish in this game. So, I mean, whatever it took, me and my brother, we was out there. I don't care, we did holes in the wall. We was from project to project. Wherever it had to go, that's where we had to go.
What is your most favorite thing about being the CEO of Cash Money Records? What's the thing you enjoy the most?
I mean, I enjoy just being in this situation because I can reach out to so many. I can reach out to where we come from. It's like small, so I can grab and give. You know, I can give a homie who come out the penitentiary, come on, man, a job. My homies come home who, when I was young, they was older than me. You know, I could buy them a car. That's good to me. I like doing that. You know what I'm saying? That's stopping from doing some of the worldly things to get some of the material things. You know what I'm saying? But as far as with me, I just love what I do. I got a serious passion for this. I'm gonna be doing this till the man come get me.
Cause I heard that you went on the road and you did a whole tour, and when you came back, I heard you brought everybody cars, you brought everybody houses.
Dog. I'm good. I can't complain. I'm good. I got a lot of family. I got like 10 brothers, 12 sisters that I make sure that we provide.
You have 10 brothers,
12 sisters.
12. Hold on. 12 altogether, or 10 brothers and 12
10 brothers and 12. I come from a big family.
That means somebody was.
My pa was pimping.
Really, yeah, he was really handling his business.
Down there they have a lot of kids. You know, in those days, you might have some like stay next door. They got 8. You might have 6. Ain't no 1. They start having 1 at 14 and 15.
Now let me ask you a question. You have you said 10 brothers
and 12 sisters.
And 12 sisters.
Yeah.
How did you wind up dealing with your brother that you're dealing with now, instead of any other one or any of the other brothers?
A lot of my brothers are old, and then at the time when my daddy passed, it was just us and my brothers and sisters. But Slim was more like cool, but I used to be out there trying to run him. But when I come home from jail, I come home to my brother, because a lot of my brothers and sisters were scattered out, and I just stuck with me and Slim. As growing up, we wasn't as close. I had another brother who passed away when we was 17. I was like 10 months older than him. So when I came home to my brother Slim, and we just stuck together.
One thing that I want to know is, why do you never see him? Why does he never talk? I never hear anything from him.
That's him, though. That's how my daddy was. He just laid back. He cool. Slim don't say too much, but he observe everything.
Okay, so he's a dude. He's the watching kind of dude.
At the end of the day, he the shot caller. Slim calling all the shots. If we disagree and I don't like it, at the end of the day, it's still his call. I look at him like my daddy. At the end of the day, he the man in my life. So whatever he say goes to me.
Were you nervous when everybody started going their own direction, saying they want to do their thing, and you had to wind up taking the entire label on your back?
You know what have made me nervous? If Manny Fresh would have broke, that would have made me nervous.
Why?
Because production is more important than beats. Than lyrics. You know what I mean? So you can give somebody who claim he got vocals with no beats. Who gives a fuck?
Right.
You know what I mean? I knew one thing. You know, the relationship me and Fresh had, Fresh been telling me, dog, it's time. He see it happening. And, you know, I ain't never take heed because I raised him. I thought it was all what it was. So I was like, Fresh, I knew I had my dog. I said, ain't nothing to it. First of all, me and you got to do this. I said, and after that, I got this shit home. I need to do me a solo album.
Now, it didn't bother you at all that all of those guys said, I'm not here, I don't want to be down, X, Y, Z. How did you feel about that personally?
Ain't nobody tell me nothing. So, you know, the respect they have for me, they couldn't tell me. They couldn't even face me. So, you know, it wasn't no thing. I just had to suck it up and play it for what it's worth. I was taught one way, family business you don't discuss, dog. That's dry snitching, that's ratting. I never do that. I could never go in a magazine and discuss nothing that happened way in New Orleans and put it in the public. I can't do that.
It did hurt you a little personally.
A lot. It hurt me more personal than Slim them because they was me. I was them. You know, I was there when their folks wasn't there. I was there. You know, I made sure we ate. Whatever it took, I made sure we ate. I've been having them since they were like 8, 9 years old.
Well, one person who did not step away was Lil Wayne. How did that whole thing come about?
I mean, Shorty ain't know what they was doing because they ain't never went to Shorty with it. So, I mean, at the end of the day, it's like I tell them it is what it is, and I always said I got open arms for you. Then I'm glad that it happened like this because experience is your best teacher. I wanted them to go see, but I wish they'd have came about it a better way. But I want them to go see what it's like in that world. It's real.
Go see what's out here.
It's real.
Right.
And you will see that it ain't easy, homie. This is real, man. I gave my life for this. You dig? It's real out there trying to sell records, homeboy.
Now, y'all are all back together.
Yeah.
What brought it about?
I guess they brought it about. I ain't, you know, I always said I had open arms, but they know me though. I'm solid here. And I was like, if they holler, it's cool. I really ain't had nothing to say to them, but you know, and Slim and Fresh felt worse than me. You know, so I was like, if they want to talk, I'll talk. So I was shooting my video with the clips and all of them came. All right, so what y'all, you know, let's do it.
You sat down, hashed it out, and that was it. Is there any one thing that would make you get up and just say, I quit, I'm finished with Cash Money Records? Is there any one thing that would make you do that?
That Cash Money Records is my heart and soul. That's like, oh, God first in my life. Yeah, I got my family. That's the next best thing. I die for this. Only one thing will make me walk away if something ever was to happen.
What is that?
Fresh. Fresh is like a brother to me. So my daddy passed, that's the next one, you know. He said I gained a brother and he real with me. That's the only thing I always say, if something was to ever, I'd give it up.
What is the one thing about the rap music industry that someone should know before they decide to jump in it?
You know, when you get in the game, it ain't all what you think or what all you might think it gonna be, but whatever you make out of this, what it's gonna turn out. Just put you some goals in this game and understand that you got to sacrifice, dog. It say no pain, no gain. You know, no struggle, no progress. But you gonna go through that. Sometimes you might be I feel they need to understand. Sometimes you might have a hit record and collect. I always tell everybody, you got to know success is one thing. You can have a hot record and be a hit. You'll be hot. But when you cool off, one day those days do come around. They got a thing called success. But you got to know how to survive with success. I watch TV a lot and watch a lot of them dudes that sold records but ain't got no money. See, that's where the survival come in at. You got to know how to have success and survive with it, dog. 10, 20 years later, you had a hit record and got a meal and some change. Your family, you should never have to look back, dog.
Do you think that the rap music industry gets the respect that it's supposed to?
At the end of the day, to me, it doesn't matter. You got a lot of black surviving off it, though. You know what I'm saying? It was a good thing for us as entertainers. Because as a youngsters, all we really had was sports. Unless you was going for be a lawyer, a doctor. I think it became a more successful avenue than any sport. Because you can help so many.
Describe yourself as a businessman. Give me 3 things that describe Baby as a businessman.
I'm simple with my game, dog. It ain't complicated. See, some people can make an easy job hard. You ever heard if you clean the bathroom, clean it right so you ain't got to come back and clean it again? The game is simple, homie. It's very simple math. I don't make my job hard. And then I got another head with me, so that make it easier. My brother tend to deals with a lot of it, but to me, very, very simple.
Does it hamper your creativity to be an artist and a businessman?
Nah, it's easy for me.
Because now, not only do you have to think about the records, but you got to be like, damn, what am I going to sound scan this week? What about this? What about the price and positioning? What about that? Does that bother you?
Nah, because I got it. I've been doing it. You know, it's common for me. I can look at that and know how I want price and position. So that's easier for me. And then, I mean, for the scans, I look at it like, if you ain't working, you ain't eating. So if you working, you eating. You know, sometimes you got to bag up, but I still look at it every day. I say goals, and every day I work forward to my goals and my accomplishments.
I read an XXL magazine article one time about you guys in the early days, and you had a paper up on a wall, and it had rules for artists. It was like, no bends on the first album.
Fresh used to do that.
Yeah.
When we was independent, he used to write a rule list, no bends on first album. You can't drive like Stunner.
You can't. Well, you can't drive like Stutter. How you drive?
I mean, I had like 8 Bentleys around that time, so Fresh ain't into it as much as me. So he get him 1 Bentley, and he like old schools, and so Fresh made this rule list. You dig? You got to take a bath. You got to stay clean. You can't drive like Stunner. You're not gonna make $1 million on the first album. Fresh, he got a lot of humor with him.
Now you signed a lot of people. How do you know when an artist has what it takes?
I let the people judge that, but I listen to them. But then when they get their shot, it's on them. I'm gonna let Fresh bless them, and then if the world accept you, it's good.
How would you like to be remembered at the end of the day?
I mean, do this, did him. I do me, dog. I don't live for nobody. I live for me. God first in my life. I got family and friends who I love. And, you know, when it comes to me living this life here that we put here to live, I'm going to just do me.
It's the Birdman, Daddy, and you're flying any weather.
Any weather, baby boy.
Holla at that.
Fatman Scoop, you know.
I recently visited Kevin Liles at Def Jam headquarters in New York City. We sat down and we talked about the importance of training the next generation of executives to take over the music industry. Kevin's story is really, really important because of the fact that he started as an intern at Def Jam and currently serves as the president of Def Jam and Def Soul. Listen up to what Kevin has to say. How did you break into the music industry?
You know, being a local artist, I knew everybody from the Mid-Atlantic. So, you know, I would just promote my own records. We had my own record label called Marx Brothers. So I remember I first came up to DJ Red Alert. And I said, yo, man, I'm a cat from Baltimore. You know, here's a record. It's called Do You Wanna? Won't you see if you like it? He said, yeah, y'all cats do club music too. I said, yeah, we used to do that. We now doing this. And he actually played the record while I was right there on the air. And that's why I always, you know, Uncle Red and me he just respects how I came at him. And from that point on, man, everybody knew, yo, you want to really mess with anything in the promotion and marketing, Kev know everybody because he was an artist. So from that, I started interning with somebody who I always paid homage to. His name was Kevin Mitchell. And interned for him. And
at what label?
At Def Jam.
Okay.
Right. And Kevin Weeks, I used to work for his street team company. And at the end of the day, man, I did a great job. And Kevin Mitchell said, you know, I got an intern better than all y'all. And,
okay, all right. And that's how you got involved with the whole Def Jam thing.
And that's how I got involved.
Who was like your mentor? Who was the person who made you get to this point?
Lyor Cohen.
Okay.
You know, for some reason, he picked me. He felt it in him. He tried every assignment he gave me. He was proud and really satisfied with the work that I did, and he took a chance. You know what I mean? It's like I said, I'm a cat from Baltimore. Nobody expect, if you would ask 10 years ago who would be the next president of Def Jam after Lyor, who would it be? They wouldn't have said a cat from Baltimore.
Right.
So, you know, I have to say he gave me a shot that I'll never forget.
You are running a big company like Def Jam. Do you have a personal life, or is this just your life?
24 hours a day, 7 days a week. And at the end of the day, man, I just started to lift my head up. You know what I mean? To sit and say, damn, I'm up at 6 and I get home at 2. That means and I drive, that means I only get 3-4 hours of sleep a night.
Give me 3 adjectives that describe you as a businessman.
Passionate, positive, and honest.
Why?
Passionate because it's something I love. I can't work for any company that I don't believe in.
Right.
I believe that we're doing a lot. I see it. So I know when I hear Josh say something to his daughter, I know it's something that I instilled in him. Or when I hear, you know, Redman calls me and say, Kev, I just want to, you know, wish you and your family a happy Thanksgiving. I know I mean something to these cats. When I'm able to give a check to an artist of $30 million to say, man, you know, we've been making a lot of money together. I know it means
I would
something.
like to have that film. I would love that.
So that's I can't. If I had to go work somewhere else, man, it had to be something that I believe in, something I use every day, because that's the kind of cat I work. My drive is passion. Secondly, honesty, man. I wear my heart on my sleeve. You know, a lot of cats say, Kev, you know, how do you deal with all that? You know, all that stuff, you niggas yelling and all that. I tell them every day, man. you have to have inner peace with yourself, and you can't allow other people to dictate your moods. So I never do. I don't hear certain things. Everybody know who I am. Everybody know how much money we generate, and everybody know what my position is. You know what I mean? I get half of my ventures, and I get all of the artists signed directly to me. So whatever. You know what I mean?
What do you bring to the table that no other executive brings?
I think it's a couple of things, but I'll say the biggest one is I believe in the human resource and the development of the next generation. So I invest a lot of my time in building up the next Kevin Liles or the next Lyor or the next Julie, and that I think a generation of us missed because as we got these jobs, I guess people felt, oh, I better hold on to it. I better just be the house nigga and hold on and make sure I don't cultivate the younger. So I want somebody to take my job. I don't hire people that don't want to take my job.
Right.
If you don't want my job, then I don't want you. I want you to work like I work. I'm not saying you got to work 24 hours a day, but I say you better be on. You better be on. You better not be off. Because if you're off, I don't want you here. I demand that people come in here every day. Teach me something every day. If you're not teaching me something every day, it's caught up with management, then I don't need you.
How do you deal with violent and unruly artists on this level? Or do you even have them to deal with? Because, there's a lot of people on this label that people think are nuts. Do they come in here and pull that game with you, or how do you deal with them? How does that go?
It always takes more than one person to get into an altercation. People know I don't have none of that. I don't have to talk about. I don't. They. Again, knock on wood, and I hope that everybody's listening to this. You ain't proving nothing by doing nothing to nobody.
Right.
You're just putting yourself in harm's way.
Right.
So to me, let's just all get along and get this paper, man. We're making too much money now, man.
As an executive, how do you know when an artist has what it takes?
It's a feeling, man. I mean, it's like when you see X up in Yonkers and 10 rappers rapping, and he had his mouth is wired shut, and he. And you feel it. I mean, it's something about it. When you see Ja when he first, with his Cash Money clicking, he was the little guy with the big voice. You knew something when Hov came in my office and said, "Man, I can't be no artist. I never work for nobody. I work with you."
Right.
You know what I mean?
Right.
You just know the persona.
Right.
When LL said, "You know what? I'm on my 8th album. I'm gonna do 10 albums, and how about this? My last album, I'm gonna reinvent myself. I'm gonna go back to looking like I'm 16."
He told you that from the beginning.
Oh, absolutely. I said, "Dog, get out of here." Every album he reinvents himself, and he did it. He looks like he again. Those are
he looks better at 35 or whatever he is now than he did when he was 16.
Yo. God is good, man. It's a blessing, and he's able to take care of his family. He got movies. Even when I did Ludacris, I said, "Yo, it's something funny about you, Cat. You got something about you." And he came out and sold 3 million. Even to R&B with music, it was something about a kid that can walk in here with 20 songs, and it's 3 singles already done.
Right.
It's something about those. It's a certain feeling. So we sign stars. We don't dust off bums.
What does Kevin Liles want to be remembered for?
Again, I want to be not by how many records I sold, how many lives I changed, how many opportunities I gave, and how many people I helped employ.
There you go. That's it. Inside Hip Hop, Fatman Scoop, Kevin Liles. It's been good.
It's been a blessing, man.
It's been a blessing. In a recent conversation with Mona Scott, president of Violator Management, Mona sat down and told me about some of the lucrative deals she's been able to make for her artists with major corporations like Pepsi and Coke. Listen to what Mona has to say. Let me tell you something. I read a bio, and Busta Rhymes said, Violator is like a family.
Right.
Each and every day I wake up, I thank Mona Scott for being in my corner.
See that?
So it is a family, and you are doing
it's definite,
right
and you gotta love it like a family and treat it like a family in the same way that you get into, shit with your sister or your man or your woman. You don't just get up and say I'm out. You go through it, you tussle it out, but at the end of the day, you're in it for good or for bad, for better, for worse. And you're gonna weather the storm, and it's about that trust level, and it's about that connection to know that there are all these great good times, but there's going to be time when shit is fucked up. Are we in this together or what? You know?
there you
and
go.
that's what gets you through it.
What are some of the mistakes that someone makes when selecting a manager?
I just have a personal feeling about family. I just don't think, you know, I think there are very few instances where that's in your best interest, you know, because part of it is being objective. And a lot of times, you know, artists are emotional, and that's it, and they should be. It's their lives, you know, and you need that person who's kind of in charge of the business end of your life, you know, being unemotional. And it's hard for family to make that separation. It's hard for you to, you know, go at it all day and then go home at night and be like, hey, mom, or, you know, this crawl into bed with your girl. You know. So I just don't think that works really well. I think that it's not always a negative thing to have your friend, but I think you have an obligation, and so does that person, to make sure that they know what the hell they're doing. You know, people think that it's all good and all I gotta, you know, be is in the mix, and I gotta have my cell phone and my two-way, and those are the only tools that I need. You know, and I think they do themselves a disservice, because once your credibility is damaged, and once people don't think that your business is handled right, it damages the overall perception of you.
Nobody wants to deal with
Nobody wants to deal with you. And it limits your potential to people, because they think, well, shit, if you think that this is acceptable, you know what I'm saying? Then you've got limited aspirations. So I don't know that I want to get in business with you.
A lot of artists like to deal with a manager who has 1 to 3 acts. Now, you guys have how many acts?
Probably about 12 active acts.
12
right now.
acts. How do you give each artist the proper attention?
Right. Well, the important thing is it's about infrastructure. It's about making sure that you have a system set up that's going to be there as a safety to service their every need. And uniquely, we're kind of departmentalized in a way that we have someone in place in almost every phase of that artist's career, almost every area. There's somebody who handles strictly billings and receivables and making sure that, you know, your songs are registered and your splits are done. There's somebody who moves them around to strictly travel. The cars are there on time, you know what I'm saying? Entourage, all of that stuff is set straight. And then there's a day-to-day junior manager, somebody who's actually out on the road when there's a need to. And we're also very involved in the staff that they surround themselves with, because they function as an extension of us. You know, so it's not necessary for me or even Chris with the acts that he takes a lead on, or Todd, to physically be out on every single thing with each of our acts. We mainly, you know, if it's something that we've set up from scratch, or if it's, you know, something major, we'll pop in, but we've got the full staff to really service all of the day-to-day needs. And that's an important thing. It goes back again to people thinking, as long as I got my phone and my two-way, I could do this. But you can't be everywhere at once. And the worst thing is when calls aren't being returned, and the small details aren't being handled, because that's the shit that starts to chip away at the overall, you know, when that foundation is shaky, the whole shit comes crumbling
So
down.
basically you have to have people that you can delegate responsibility.
Totally. It's all about delegation, but it's all about having the right people and the responsible people in place.
What does a good manager provide for its artists?
A good manager provides a total sense of security. That artist should be able to think about nothing else but honing their craft and delivering their craft. They shouldn't have to worry about whether their, you know, shit is being handled properly, whether they're being represented properly, whether their money's right, whether their, you know, the decisions being made on their behalf is in line with the way they want to be, you know, perceived or represented. A good manager should provide total security, where that person should be able to say without a shadow of a doubt, I know my manager got me.
What do you look for in an artist that you're going to manage?
For the most part, talent. Talent that is special and unique in its own way. Another big part of it is drive and ethic. You know, because I have a certain, you know, work ethic that I live by and that I demand from my staff and that I demand from the clients that I represent. There's never going to be a case where I'm going to work harder for you than you. You know, you tell me how hard we're going to go at this, because I'm taking my lead from you. So I definitely demand, you know, just a certain level of commitment to themselves. You know, you're not doing this for me, and I'm not going to pull you kicking and screaming all the way to the top. This is your life, this is your business. I'm, you know, when you look over to the side, I'm right there next to you. But if you don't want this, I can't want this more than you do.
Right now, you have a big thing where you're fusing corporate America and hip hop and making a good partnership out of it. Tell us a little bit about that.
I think that came mainly from, hip hop's acceptance into the mainstream, and it becoming, again, the popular culture and the way of speaking to those kids out there, because they're all looking to the urban kids to determine what's hot and what's not. And, with the advent of that, you have all of these corporate brands trying to capitalize and tap into, their ability to influence these kids. I think what you always want to be mindful of and be careful of is making sure that in that process you don't dilute, your artists and dilute what they represent in music, because that's their core business. And a lot of times you get offers for products and stuff that absolutely make no sense, where the check is big. And I think that that's probably where a lot of people make their mistake. But these brands are out there. They definitely want to be in business with urban artists, even more so now than sports figures. Wow. Because, music artists are more influential now. Right. So the opportunities are boundless.
That's a wrap. Mona, thank you for coming
No,
through.
thank you for having me.
I appreciate it. Fatman Scoop, Mona Scott, Inside Hip Hop. I sat down with another mogul whose success as a manager led to him running a label alongside pop icon Eminem. His name is Paul Rosenberg, general manager of Shady Records. Listen to Paul talk about his rise to the top of the music industry. What was your first job in the music industry after, getting out of law school? And
I was actually, when I was in law school, I did a few things. The first thing I did was there was a BMG music distribution center in Detroit, and I worked in the mailroom there while I was in law school. Eventually became an intern and assistant promotions person for a guy at RCA, because they had the locals there for RCA. So I was doing a little bit of radio promotions for the smaller stations for him, interning. And then in the summer of '95, which is the year before I graduated, I came out to New York for the summer, and I worked in Polygram, which no longer really exists, in Polygram Legal and Business Affairs, and interned there. And I also interned for a music law firm.
how did that experience help you?
Oh, it helped tremendously. I mean, I basically, nobody was mentoring me saying, okay, this is your management company, here's how you're going to run it. I had to sort of figure it out. And without the experience of working within office environments, interning, doing whatever jobs, temping, making copies in the basement of buildings, you don't know what to do. And you learn, the structure.
What were people's first impression of Eminem when you were taking him around, doing the initial rounds?
I mean, it was basically, he's a great rapper, but he's white, I don't know if it'll work. Every white music industry executive that's around today, and some of them who aren't even doing it anymore, passed on him initially. With the exception of Jimmy Iovine. And when I say every, I mean just about everyone.
When did you sense that the tables were turning and you were going to do good with this?
When Dre signed him, and I started hearing the music that they were doing together, that's when we really, started to become more confident and say, all right, well, this might work.
How did you get involved with Dre? How did you guys get involved with Dre?
It was through Jimmy Iovine, who's the chairman of Interscope, Geffen A&M. Jimmy got M's tape from some of his interns, and he listened to it and said, I don't know too much about whether this would work, let me give it to Dre, which was smart. And Dre said, I'm fucking with him.
Immediately?
Immediately. He was like, let's get him, and flew him out, and the same weekend met with him, and it was a wrap.
What does a manager do on a day-to-day basis for their clients?
All right, well, the easiest way that I used to describe it is the manager is the business hub of an artist, period. Everything relating to that artist goes through this hub. So the manager's here, you've got the record company, you've got publicity, you've got the business manager, you've got the lawyers, you've got touring, you've got the agents. All of that stuff filters through the manager to the artist.
For those who don't know, how much does a manager charge?
Typically, a manager gets 15 to 20% of what an artist makes.
Okay, so is that gross or net?
It's generally gross, but when you're talking about things like touring, you'll take some things off for net. If there's costs that are coming out of the artist's expenses, for instance, we just did a huge tour with Eminem last summer, and there was tremendous amount of cost for sound, which he had to pay for out of his pocket, and for the lighting and things like that, and that'll come off of, you know, any commissions.
A lot of people know about Eminem's Shady Records. Now, you're co-owner?
Yeah, co-founder.
Co-founder.
Yeah.
What's your relationship in terms of that entire situation?
Well, it's basically the same way that it works in management. He's more of the creative side with the artist. He's the one getting him in the studio. He's the one making more of the creative efforts in terms of the music. I'm definitely more of the business side and more of the creative efforts in terms of marketing and promotions.
Does Eminem play any role in marketing and promotion?
Yeah, he sees everything before it goes out, you know, but he doesn't have time to sit there and
push the button with radio.
Yeah, do all those
POP.
things. Yeah, exactly. He doesn't have time to do that, and you know, nor should he. And it works well because, you know, he trusts me to handle that for him. And you know, he'll get to go through everything, but you know, he's not going to go through and decide, okay, this is the way the booklet should look for every artist that we put out. He'll take a look at it and make suggestions. You know, take a look at the posters and make suggestions, but you know, I have to be there from the second we get the photos to making the logos and, you know, making sure all the ad campaigns are right. And you know, M's not going to want to sit there and go through the list of magazines that we're advertising in or radio stations. Yeah.
A lot of times people think that you work for the manager.
No. And whenever we come to a point where we're making a tough decision or we're going through a problem, I remind the artist, listen, you're my boss. You need to make this decision ultimately. All I can do is give you the opinion and information that you're paying me for. And my advice that I have. Ultimately, it's your decision. You're the boss.
Final question. As someone who's excelled in this game and started as an intern, what advice do you have for an upcoming manager or anyone who wants to get into the business? What would be your words of advice to those people?
You got to pay your dues. Absolutely. I mean, it's cliche, but it's true. You got to pay your dues. You can't, you know, you gotta crawl before you can walk and run. And you just have to take things slow and don't automatically assume that, you know, because your man got in the game and you're going to be his manager that you're going to be able to be good at it.
Because you will lose.
Because you'll lose if you don't try and figure it out. You can make it like that. There's plenty of people who have, but they've taken the time to really, you know, to learn and to be a student. You know, but these people who don't do that and just run around, you know, the artist says, "I want a glass of water," and the manager screams, "He wants a glass of water."
Right.
That style of management doesn't work.
Right. It's foolishness. You have to still know the business.
Absolutely.
Wise words from a wise man. Thank you, Paul, for coming through.
You got it.
We appreciate it. Inside hip hop, everyone knows who Russell Simmons is. So when I sat down with Russell at Fat Fashions in New York City, he told me the key to his success was his resilience. Let's hear what he had to say. I want to start with the beginning, because you were one of the main people, one of the main driving forces in hip-hop from the beginning. First things first, what was your initial feeling when you heard your first hip-hop record? How did you feel?
First record? Oh, we was all pissed off. We was at the Armory. And Starsky threw the record on, and it was, you know, Hollywood and Flash and all the rappers was there. And he played the record, and it was like everybody's heart dropped, because I had a record on the shelf. I had Christmas rapping on the shelf. And when Rappers Delight played, it made us feel, and we didn't have any, people always say, I had this vision. I said, I didn't have any vision. I was going to get a record out. I had been a promoter in hip-hop. And we heard the record, it felt like they'd stolen our thunder. You know, Big Bang Hank sounded like Hollywood. You know what I mean? That was the original, that was Hollywood hip-hop. You know what I mean? And you heard all that stuff sound like it came from somewhere. The Cold Crushers rap, all this stuff was on. So it made us feel that we were crushed in a kind of a way. My record was on the shelf. Were they going to buy another one? And that record got very big, and actually just the same as, you know, I learned a lesson, not that day, but after watching it happen 50 times, you realize that, you know, you're thrilled that someone is doing what you're doing, is opening the door. And you know, you're small. You know, you're not looking for market share, you're looking to be part of a revolution. And so we want the culture to change. It used to be like, I remember getting one rap record on the radio, and there was only room for one. But eventually there were 40 spots on the radio for rap records and 20 more for R&B, and there were 40 records. You needed a second, a third record. You needed the culture to kick in, not one stab at it. And so, anyway, when that record came out, it made us feel as if they had taken our thunder.
Right.
And I was a Sugar Hill Gang, of course, right? And then Christmas Rapping came out, and he started to be more records, and it was really, at the time, one record on the radio at a time was a lot. I mean, if any rap record was on the radio, we were thrilled. So it felt like one at a time, but the idea was to really, push from all angles, and it made the industry bigger.
Was it hard to be a businessman pushing and promoting rap in the beginning?
It was only hard if you made it hard, you know what I mean? I mean, a lot of times it was just, it was all hard work and dedication and love for what you were doing. I didn't realize how much of an offering even that was. It was only about, I want people to hear it. It was never the results.
Rap is widely accepted because of some of the barriers that you broke and some of the walls you broke down.
The artist broke down.
The business still had to be tight in order for that to happen. What were some of the difficulties that you experienced during that time?
I think that the struggle a lot of times is against yourself. And I say this because, like I say about it being an offering and enjoying your work and going ahead, there's nothing you could do but put your head down and go to work and put in a day's work, go home. People don't understand that. They're attached to, people are quitters. And I learned this lesson, but maybe I had some of it in me. That's the kind of resilience you need. People get ideas, and then they go to work at them, and then as soon as they bump their head, they quit. And the bump in your head is a lesson of how not to do something, maybe at best. It certainly doesn't mean you got to quit. But people quit. If 10 people in this room all said that they wanted to start a cleaners, 9.5 of them would quit before they actually got it done. And if we all 10 said we were going to do it, one of us are going to go right to the library and read everything we can on opening a cleaners. And others are going to talk about it, and some others are going to yet work at it until they find some difficult part. Then they're going to quit. I mean, everything that you need to be successful is in each one of us. But the ones who exhibit the least skill and talent, a lot of times, but the most resilience are the successful ones. Even the comedians, even the singers, even the rappers. The greatest rapper is not a rap star, and the greatest singer is not a singer, not a successful singer, So it's really about, hard work and resilience, and I think I say it to people all the time. They say, yeah, the persistence overcomes resistance. That rap, we're not teaching kids that. When they watch the screen, they see these stars and they think it's simple, and the stars don't promote that it's not simple, and they promote easy way out ideas, but they never really did it the easy way. They promote, that it's going to happen this quickly if you do these five things, but they didn't really tell them what they went through. It's not true, and it's like, if you get it right away, it don't mean nothing.
What got you into the whole political arena? What was the inspiration behind
The inspiration for working with politicians is the same inspiration that works with charity. If I think it's important for kids to practice and appreciate art. Like, for instance, the poetry thing, that's a seed that I'm watering. Have you been to Def Poetry Jam?
I haven't. You offered me tickets, but I
have tickets for you tonight. You can go tonight.
Okay.
The Def Poetry Jam it's watering a seed. The fact is, the poets, listen to a DMX album, and when he does spoken word, it's always about his higher self. It's always about some better aspiration for himself. So when I see young people writing poetry, and I go to high schools 3 times a week, and I see young people, how many of y'all write poetry? Like in Newark, New Jersey somewhere, maybe like 80% of the kids would raise their hand. 5 years ago, nobody would admit they wrote poetry. Now 80% of the people in the auditorium, rappers don't know that people are talking about more important subject matter. Some rappers are like old rock and rollers when they lost their whole chokehold on the industry. They lost their chokehold. Rappers didn't know how these R&B singers became so important. People want more heartfelt, more stuff from inside as opposed as opposed to what's outside. People don't even know. They name their company a damaging, hurtful, mean name, and all they put out is love songs. They ain't selling nothing but love songs. So they might as well live it up to and have the images that suit and say things that really suit what people want to hear. Rappers' job was to tell the truth. So when you start lying and fronting, or whatever it is that you do, I mean, I'm happy to, but by the way, I don't misunderstand, I love Snoop Dogg. I mean, give him as a good example. When I talk, especially on a pop show, I say I love, they know what that means. I want to say fuck the police all day long when the police are fucked up. And I want to say all the truth all the time that's fit to tell. And these hoes and all that. Why do these niggas say such sexist shit? These niggas are saying what their parents been saying, and they're worse. Their parents are worse than them. I don't care what a rapper said. He's more likely to empower a woman and give opportunity to, and trust in, and support the growth of a woman in industry or in anything than his father. I don't care what deacon and what church his father might have been, and how respectful he said he was sexist, and his kid is less sexist. So just because people bring what was behind doors and put it on Front Street doesn't mean that young people don't hear it and understand what it is. In other words, the sexism in rap, because I want to speak to that, because I know it's true. People are sexist. They're fucked up and sexist, but they're less sexist than they were. But when they say it, we got to deal with it. 15-year-old girl said, these niggas is talking like this. They're not whispering now. Now I can hear them. And they don't want to be nobody's baby's mama because they hear it. And we got all kinds of proof and how smart they are about dealing with men in their relationships, because they know how fucked up men can be. So those realities coming true are never negative. But still, there's higher and better ideas that sell more.
At the end of the day, what do you want to get out of the whole political campaign, the whole race to get everybody to vote? What do you want to get out of everything that you do with these kids?
You know what? That's the funny thing. Like, in the movie Magnificent Seven, I just seen recently in the movie, the guy's like dying, right? He's like, why did we come back? He went back to serve God. He went back to help those people. And Holmes was laying there with a bullet in him, and he kept saying, like, what do you want? Like, you know, because Irv always asked me, what am I trying to do? Do I want to be mayor? What do I get if I am mayor?
That's what I'm trying to do.
He's asking me these questions, and I'm like, Irv, it's because I just want to serve. You know, that's what I want to do. I mean, it makes me happier to serve than, you know, just constantly take shit.
And we're going to wrap it up on that note. Russell, thank you for coming through. We appreciate it.
All right, my man.
My brother. Craig Kallman's rise from New York City DJ to co-president of Atlantic Records is impressive. He sat down and talked to us about how the music is the most important piece of the puzzle, how he started his label from scratch, and later went on to become a major executive in the music industry. How did you get involved in the business side of this game?
Pretty much started with my DJ career. Pretty young, I started just hustling DJ gigs in New York City, and was fortunate to land some early jobs at the time called the Cat Club, which I then parlayed to Danceteria, and then kind of spiraled from there into the Tunnel area, Palladium.
How did that play into you being a label owner? How did you parlay that into owning a label?
Throughout college, I went to Brown, and I was opening some nightclubs on the Brown campus, and started a lot of parties there, and was fortunate to get an internship with Sony at the time, and started working basically with, you know, was now Columbian Epic, all of their developing artists in the college program, and got like 3 years of major label experience as a field rep, you know, in Rhode Island.
Interning?
Yeah, we were a college rep, so I was kind of like a field rep, doing all the marketing and promotion for all the college priorities. So those kind of 3 years working for CBS at the time, plus my DJing and kind of club running, when I graduated, were, I think, instrumental in the impetus for me starting a label, because I had a good amount of experience. But the way it actually happened was, when I graduated, I took a bunch of odd jobs at Billboard magazine and then Factory Records, you know, promoting like New Order and Joy Division, and then one day a week, I basically started a label. And the way the label came about is, I've been pretty much hitting 8 or 10 record stores every weekend religiously for like the last 22 years. And you know, back in the day, 1987, I guess it was, I hit some stores and heard something I wanted to play in the club that night, and it was actually a demo tape instead of an actual record, and that the guy behind the counter was playing. So I ended up tracking down the artist on that tape who actually created it.
Who was that artist?
It was this artist called Taravanti. He was like he was a singer who just had some independent records out, some house records out of New Jersey, and the way it actually started was just an instrumental, quite frankly, and I got the guy who had done the instrumental, and I said, we need to find a singer. So I kind of looked on the wall of the record store that day, and picked Taravanti as a guy we should track down because I liked his voice. So I tracked him down. I said, see if he would sing on this track because I wanted to play it in the club that night, and or one night. And so over the next couple weeks, basically got him together, the guy who had done the track, and basically in my house we set up a little studio. And once that was recorded, I was like, wow, this is great. I'll play it in the clubs. And then I thought, well, maybe I should actually do something a little more with it. So I decided to just press up 500 white labels and hustle it around the city to all my DJ friends that I knew. And I came up with the name Big Beat Records and kind of decided to just go for it and see if I could make a go running an independent label.
How did you get involved with Atlantic? How did the whole thing start with Atlantic from Big Beat to where you are now?
We were getting all types of records on a lot of different types of radio stations. And that's when each time you would get a big radio station on, you'd get calls from the majors, and they're like, how is this little independent getting on all these major radio stations? And it was a record that I had gotten on Z100 that prompted, the Doug Morris conversation of getting all these records on the radio. And I met Doug and, was just tremendously inspired by him, and being a big fan of just Atlantic as a voracious music lover, to be able to be at the home of Led Zeppelin and Aretha Franklin, and get an education, on a whole nother level of the business. I've been doing the independent thing for like 4 years, and the scene had definitely it had gotten tougher because the CD boom had started, and all of a sudden everything was getting a lot more expensive. Videos were becoming really key. So it really made sense if I was going to really grow the label and build the brand and really serve the artists that I went into a venture. And fortunately, Doug and Amit was an incredible home to kind of kickstart the next chapter for Big Beat. And I was also able to, in working directly for Doug, get in a position to also, supervise and help A&R, a lot of the Atlantic artists at the time too. And
what was it like working with Double X Posse? New group, new venture for you?
Yeah, that was, it was great because, fortunately we had that track, Not Gonna Be Able to Do It.
Not gonna be able to do it.
So
everybody knows that. That's a classic.
Yeah, we really, we were really fortunate, and right after that, we signed the Artifacts, and had a bunch of great records with them, and then it was really soon after that we joined Atlantic, and then and that's when I stepped to Biggie, and when he was just starting, and fortunately. Puffy hadn't locked down Biggie yet, and Biggie kind of was such a genius and so clear. He had an incredible array of talents and skills as a businessman and a creative visionary, and we just got to talking a lot, and I was very excited.
Most people who might be listening or watching this think that starting a label is getting a bunch of jackets, going to Freaknik, and passing out cards with startup money. Now, you've got a certain amount of startup money. What is the most important thing you need to spend that startup cash on?
The most important thing is the music. Nothing matters more than making sure you have a stunningly original, brilliant, vital, urgent piece of music that people have to run to the store at midnight and go buy, and that's where every dollar should go. I mean, because really, the Junior Mafia is a perfect example. It didn't take millions of dollars to ignite that. I mean, yes, there was a Biggie history, yes, there was a lot going for it, but the magic was what was on that 12-inch, and similarly Craze the Party. It's about putting out things that are so exciting that
It drives people to go get it.
Yeah, and then it's about, you know, managing that and using the funds left behind that to, you know, to start to grow it and build it and build the support and build the momentum, and then, you know, hopefully, you know, create enough revenue so you can make another one and get paid for it.
Wise words from a wise man. We're going to wind it up on that. Thank you for coming through, Craig.
My pleasure.
Inside Hip Hop, Fatman Scoop. We'll be back. Hang around. Like all the others, Fat Joe, CEO of Terror Squad Records, is a prime example of how persistence is key in becoming a music mogul. Here's what Fat Joe had to say. Now, you're Fat Joe the artist, you're doing Terror Squad. What inspired you to move over to the business side and be a CEO and be a director and be a leader? What inspired
I've always been an entrepreneur, man. Since I was little, growing up in my family, my father got laid off. We used to sell toys in the winter. We used to sell ices in the summer by Crotona Pool. You know, I always been into entrepreneuring, and I noticed that the people who were making the real money was the Puff Daddies of the world, you know what I mean? The Andre Harrells and so forth, and the Russell Simmons. So I was like, you know, as an artist, I can make money, but I can make even more money as a CEO and a business manager. So then once I met Pun, I was like, yo, you know what? This dude is phenomenal. I could tell he's the truth. We ain't never seen nothing like it before. Let me get behind him 100%. And I stopped my own career.
Did that make you nervous? Did that make you nervous to have to stop your entire career and put it all behind Pun?
Because I knew he was just so much better than me. So I knew he could go much further than me. You know what I'm saying? I knew he was very talented. He was incredible, you know. I knew that he was going to take us to where we needed to be.
And then at that point, you would step in and just become an artist again?
At that point, I stepped in and became an artist again because I seen like people like Master P who were just dropping albums, him, Silk the Shocker, this one, that one. They was all going double platinum. So once I dropped Pun and we made it happen, I was like, yo, I got to go back and do my album now.
Now, when Pun passed away, did that make you a little nervous to have to be the CEO and now step back into the spotlight and do your thing?
It didn't make me nervous because this music thing is in my soul, you know what I'm saying? It's in my bones, and making good music is just what I do, you know what I'm saying? As an artist, I wasn't nervous, but did it really affect me? Because, you know, I lost my best friend, I lost, you know, the main artery of Terror Squad, you know, in no way am I as talented or could ever be as talented as Pun was. That's like Rough Riders losing DMX. That's like, you know, Jay-Z, Rockefeller losing Jay-Z. I mean, just think about it, like Murder Inc. with no job, you know what I mean? That's what happened to us, you know what I'm saying? Big Pun died. Now, where is Terror Squad? You know what I'm saying? So I had no choice but to step up and, you know, and make the best music I could.
What is a CEO to Fat Joe?
CEO is somebody who wears many hats. You know what I'm saying? A guy who's very competitive, who's very motivated and driven for excellence and just to build a legacy. You know what I'm saying? And takes a lot of responsibility, a lot of, I think every CEO has a shrink or something, man. Because you got to deal with
a lot
artists.
of headaches, right?
Yeah, these artists are like crazy. Like I got Remy Martin, she's a headache. You know, I never knew that, you know, you got to get a girl's hair done and her nails and her outfit and, you know, this and that. And then I got this guy, Armageddon, we call him Moody Blues, who he's crazy, he's very moody.
Makes good
So,
beats.
yeah, makes good beats. He's my executive producer, actually. Then we got Tony Sunshine, who's a spoiled brat. We got Prospect, who's Sleepy Thug, who comes around whenever he feels like it. We got Pun, who's the most spoiled cat in the universe. And I got to deal with all of them. Plus, you know, you got to make real strong decisions, man. Sometimes you have to disagree with your artists and make, you know, being that I've been around, I've been up this road before, you know, although they think what they think is right, I know out of experience, you know, I got to stop them and we got to do it this way.
Do you think the politics of radio and video is ruining the music?
Ruining it in a major way, and we're all guilty of that. because we all want money and we all fall in. Yesterday, I had a real soul check. My publicist threw her birthday party, and it was in Joe's Pub downtown. For those of you who don't know where that's at, that's in Manhattan. And the DJ, what was her name, Beverly Bond, was playing old Diamond D records and playing all the stuff that I used to love in my heart, you know what I'm saying? And that's where I come from, digging in the crates and just that era with Black Moon and all that. And myself, I was feeling like, damn, man, where's the jigger, man? Where's the Ja Rule? Where's everything I'm brainwashed to hearing on the radio? You know what I'm saying? This is where I come from. This is what I used to love. So I'm guilty of it too. I'm sitting in there going crazy, like, yo, B, would they hurry up and play something, some Nori or something? And I'm like, damn. I was asking myself, I was bugging with myself, like, man, this is where I come from. This is what I love, this kind of music, and I'm brainwashed now.
As the head of Terror Squad, how are you able to balance doing the music and doing the business? Because now, as the head, you got to worry about certain things. You got to worry not about making the music, but the marketing. How many units am I going to sell? Am I going to recoup?
I'm a marketing genius, B. You know what I'm saying? Whether people understand it or not, they don't. Being a marketing genius is for one to have balls, for two be creative, and number three is common sense. People spend millions and millions of dollars trying to market and promote things where the things be right under their noses. You know what I'm saying? Terror Squad was the first to put stickers up on them light poles on the side of highways. The Big Pun campaign could never be duplicated. We were the first to use the poster boards. On the side of bodegas, they had Marlboro and all the cigarette companies used to have them poster boards, the 8 sheets on the side of all the bodegas. We found out that they were losing their contract, the cigarette companies, because no longer could they advertise where the kids was. We were the first to advertise hip-hop album, which was Big Pun, on them 8 sheets. We did it all, B. We started the vans going around with the vinyl wraps. We did all that.
Don't forget the graffiti on the side of the wall, the murals.
We incorporate graffiti with our advertisement. Instead of us paying for billboards, you know what I'm saying, to corporate companies, we have friends who do graffiti where we pay them what we would pay the corporate companies and have them do murals of like the album coming soon. So all this right here, the industry took from Fat Joe and Terror Squad. You know what I'm saying? They ran with it. It's a day of life now. You putting out an artist, they're gonna make the poster boards. You put out an artist, I don't care if you DreamWorks, Warner Brothers, Def Jam, whatever. You know what I'm saying? We started all that.
If you could make one change in this industry, what would it be?
One change.
You could just make one sweeping change to this industry, what would it be?
It'd be crazy for me to tell you.
Tell me.
Just giving radio back to like hip hop, man. Where now, you know, program directors are running the mix show. DJs telling them, yo, just play the hits that we play all day. How do we find the new?
If we have to play the hits,
Fat Joes or the Big Puns or the. Because if you're not clicked up, if you're not down with Terror Squad or Rough Rider, Rockefeller, or Murder Inc., how do you get your records played? And that's the most concerning part of preserving hip-hop to me. You know what I mean? Where back in the days, KRS-One, like, imagine if you had to be down with somebody. He came in the game, Boogie Down Production. He had nobody.
Right.
We would have never heard The Bridge Is Over. We would have never heard South Bronx.
As an executive, how do you want to be remembered?
Well, I just want to be remembered as groundbreaking, bringing people like Pun into the game.
The first Latino rapper to go platinum.
First Latino rapper to go double platinum, nominated for Grammys. First Latinos to have a major record label in hip-hop. Just making history, man.
Once again, Fatman Scoop, Fat Joe, Inside Hip Hop. Thank you for coming by again.
Always, baby.
All right, there it is. Steve Rifkind started out running a small marketing company. he wound up inventing what is known today as a street team. Listen to Steve tell me what a street team is and how he rose to CEO of Loud Records. Now, you started a marketing company.
Yes.
How did that whole thing begin?
Out of survival. What happened is, I moved out I fell in love with a woman, started managing New Edition. New Edition pretty much broke up. That's when the whole BBD thing took over. I hooked up with a company called Delicious Vinyl.
Yeah.
The first two records we had was Tone Loc Wild Thing and Young MC Bust a Move. So in the meantime, I was promoting those records. They gave me an office. Ruben Rodriguez, who at the time was head of promotion at Columbia, gave me a record by Johnny Kemp called Just Got Paid.
Right. Just got paid.
Friday
with
night.
The drugs,
Yeah. So, you know, so I was saying, and it was just, that's when the retail charts started. So I was doing that and still doing my radio thing. And then when I realized, you know, more rap records really weren't getting played on radio, I said, I'm putting my interns back to order. I came with a concept called the Street Team, you know, and then, you know, the first two records we had was Brand Newbie and Slow Down, and Leaders of the New School, just in case of the PTA.
Now, how did you work that? How did the street team work? What did you do?
We hired, you know, I made up a number of what to charge. The record companies loved the idea. You know, I sent out like a whole booklet. You know, this is what we do, and this is what you're going to get, everything like that. And came to New York for like 3 weeks. I was based in LA, and I came back with a lot of work, a lot of business,
and a lot of stuff. Yeah, a lot of business, a lot of money, a lot of checks, a lot of income. How did you start Loud Records? How did that whole thing happen?
I didn't want to start Loud Records. I didn't want to have a record company. I was happy having a marketing company, being in the office, working till 3 o'clock, going to the park to play ball at 6, come back to the office. I had no pressure. I saw the pressure that my father went through of having a record company. And I was happy making whatever I was making it. And I thought, I was making $40,000, $50,000, $60,000 a year, but I thought I was making millions, and I was having the time of my life. I was below the radar. And then one day, a guy named Jerry Ade, who used to own Famous Artist Agency, said, you need a label. And I was like, I don't want a label. He goes, do me a favor, meet this attorney. And I met the attorney, and the attorney happened to be my father's attorney. And I got there at 5 o'clock. We didn't leave his office till 3 o'clock in the morning.
And you just talked about creating a label.
No, I didn't want to do it. I was just learning knowledge, listening to his stories, everything like that. So the next morning, around 9, 10 o'clock, it was during the summer because my cousin just got married. And I get a phone call from my father. He goes, meet me at the house.
You think you don't know what this is about?
I'm like, oh, you know.
What did I do? Right.
Not even what I did. Maybe something what he did that, you know, I didn't know what to expect. And he says, you need to start this label. I go, I don't want to start a label. I don't want a headache. I saw what you went through, this, that, whatever. And he tried to explain to me the difference between the asset business and the service business. He goes, right now you're in a service business. God forbid you break your leg, or you're out of business. Right. In an asset business, you have assets.
And you can, no matter what happens.
And it's the first time, how old was I? I was 25, 26 years old. And it was the first time that I kept my mouth shut, and I said, you know what? I got to suck it up, you're right. You know, because at 25, 26, you know, if your father says it's blue, you're going to say it's green.
Right.
Yeah, so I said, you're right.
How was it dealing with the Wu-Tang Clan? It's like a trillion of them. Everybody has different egos, personalities. How was it dealing with a group like that?
It's dealing with a group like that is a lot easier than you think, because it's like having children. You know, each one of your children have different personalities, and you just sit down. All right, you know, Meth, what's bothering? You know, me and Meth have the same birthday, so we're pretty much exactly alike. So when I know he's depressed, I know why he's depressed. You know, Ray, Ghost, Jizza, you know, everybody had their own different personalities. So it's very easy, you know. And then when we came as a group, those were the best meetings we ever had, because we just laid everything out on the table.
And that was that.
And, you know, we would vote.
And that would be that.
And that would be it. It was, you know, people say, how can you deal with it? How can you deal with it? They were, to this day, I wish I had, you know, not even sales-wise, just how they thought and how they did business. I wish I had
and that's something no one would think, no one would believe, that those guys would be like that.
No, when it came down to business, it was strictly business. And they knew they had a shot of a lifetime. You know, we gave them that unpreceded deal Well, go ahead, do your solo records. You know, my philosophy was the group was always bigger than a solo record. But, you know, we were just learning how to be a record company. If I could learn knowledge from Def Jam, if I could learn knowledge from Electro, where Dirty was, and I could learn knowledge at Geffen, where Jizza was, and Meth being at Def Jam, I was like,
by all means, do it.
Do it.
Who came up with the idea to do the mixtape? Because before The Professional, before DJ Envy's album, before anybody with the mixtape thing, you guys had Funk Master Flex, 60 Minutes of Funk. Who came up with that idea?
I'm not gonna say I did a deal with Flex because he wanted it was a thank you for the support of everything that he did. But he had this idea. He says, I want to do a legit mixtape.
Right.
And I said, let's go. And that's all it was. And then, you know, Brett Wright, who was our head of marketing at the time, goes, you know, 60 Minutes of Funk, you know, volume 1, you know.
And that was it.
And that was it.
When did you know things were going wrong at Liles?
When I lost the love.
How did you lose the love?
When we went to Sony and it became too corporate. You know, I went from a staff of 15 people to 122 people. And you know the type of person I am. And if I don't know your name and I'm walking to the men's room or to get a drink and there are all these assistants busting their butt who, you know, who are in this for the love of it, who aren't getting paid a lot of money, and they're saying hello and I'm saying hello back, and I feel like a piece of not knowing the name. That's when I lost my love, and I said, this is a business now. And that's when the whole thing just went.
It fell in.
Sony would just beat us over the head, you know, like they did with Jermaine's label. And, you know, you look at Rough House. I mean, you know, from Cypress to, you know, the Fugees to everything, you know.
Do you feel that it just has to be the right label in the right situation?
You definitely need the right label, the right situation, but more importantly, you need the passion, because if it's yours, it's like when you're raising a kid, you know, yeah, you might have your parents help you, you know, an aunt, an uncle, a cousin, a brother, you know, but it's still your kid, and you own it. And you have the final say on what that kid is.
What are some of the challenges that labels face with promoting their music to radio right now?
They just can't promote to radio. They got to promote to the streets. You know, it's like when you build a house, you got to build it from the, you know, you just can't build it from the roof and bring it down. You got to have a strong foundation. You know, my philosophy is always have radio come to you.
For the record.
For the record, because if you're going to go to them and force feed it, you know, they're going to be over with the record in 3 weeks.
Right, and you're going to throw a lot of money at them, and you're going to throw a lot of resources at them, and they're going to be finishing.
And it's going to be nothing in your marketing. You know, you could sell 2 million records, and your marketing cost could be XYZ, and you're not making a penny. So, you know, that's why the streets are so important. If you're in the rock game, the country game, the R&B game, whatever game it is.
Steve, thank you for coming through.
Thank you.
Fatman Scoop, Steve Rifkind, Inside Hip Hop. Hang around. I hope you enjoyed watching these hip-hop moguls talk about what it takes to win in the hip-hop industry. And I hope you learned something. I know I did. Once again, it's Fatman Scoop for Inside Hip Hop. Thanks for watching.